Let's talk about a really ugly rumor that's been making the rounds. It's one that tries to connect one of the darkest figures in recent memory to the future of money. The claim is as disturbing as it gets, that Bitcoin was somehow funded or even guided by Jeffrey Epstein.
So you gotta ask yourself, is the code tainted? Did a monster actually help build the foundation of this entire market? It's a heavy accusation, and it absolutely deserves a serious, fact-based investigation.
All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. We're going to walk through the timeline, we'll follow the money, we're going to uncover the real motive behind all this, and then at the end, I'll leave you with 3 key facts to remember so you understand what really happened. Okay, first things first. The biggest, most glaring hole in this whole story, it's the timeline. When you just look at a calendar, the whole narrative completely falls apart. Take a look at this. Bitcoin's white paper, that dropped in 2008, written by Satoshi Nakamoto. The network itself went live in '09. By 2011, Satoshi was completely gone, vanished. The project was already a self-sustaining global system. Epstein, he doesn't even show up on the radar until way later, around 2015. Yeah, that's a 6-year gap. And you know, in the tech world, 6 years is basically a century. The entire creation phase, the foundational work, it was all done and dusted long before Epstein ever showed any interest. Here's an easy way to think about it. Epstein wasn't the director of the movie. He wasn't even a producer. He was just some guy who showed up to buy a ticket, like years after it had already come out and won all the awards. He was a spectator, not a creator. Okay, so if he didn't build it, what did he pay for? This is where things get a little complicated. And honestly, it's where the tiny grain of truth that started this whole rumor comes from. He definitely wasn't paying Satoshi. What he did do was donate money to MIT's Media Lab, specifically to their digital currency initiative, basically a research group looking into crypto. And yeah, some of the key developers who were maintaining Bitcoin's code worked there. On the surface, that looks really bad, right? But you have to ask the next question. Did that money actually buy him any control? And the answer is a hard no. The reason why is built into the very DNA of Bitcoin. See, it's open source. That means the code is out there for everyone to see. It's like a public document that thousands of the smartest security experts in the world are constantly watching. If anyone, and I mean anyone, tried to slip in some kind of backdoor or malicious code, it would be spotted in a heartbeat and rejected by the entire community. No chance. There's a great saying that really sums this up. You can't bribe the math, right? Even if you paid off a single developer, their code still has to be approved and accepted by the whole global network. So Epstein could throw money around to get in the room with smart people, but he couldn't actually buy his way into the protocol itself. The system is designed to resist that kind of influence. You know, another thing people bring up is his investment in Coinbase. But that's a classic misunderstanding. Investing in Coinbase is like buying shares in a bank. It doesn't mean you own the US dollar. Coinbase is just a company using the Bitcoin protocol. It is not the protocol itself. One is a centralized company, the other is a decentralized network, like the internet. Totally different things. So that leads to the million-dollar question, right? If he couldn't control the tech, why on earth was a predator like Jeffrey Epstein hanging around with a bunch of computer scientists? And the answer, when you get down to it, is, well, it's pretty pathetic and cynical. It's a concept called reputation laundering. See, after his 2008 conviction, he was a total outcast. He desperately needed a way to scrub his image, to look like a serious intellectual, a philanthropist, a visionary. So what does he do? He starts donating to cutting-edge science projects at super prestigious places like MIT. It was his ticket back into the world of the powerful and respected. And get this. This email from the head of the MIT Media Lab at the time says everything you need to know. When planning a visit from Epstein, he wrote, "Probably Bitcoin will be the first topic." It shows you exactly how they saw him, not as a contributor, but as a rich science groupie who wanted to be near the cool new thing to make himself seem smart and forward-thinking. It was never about technical influence. It was all about social climbing. He was using the credibility of science and the hype around Bitcoin as a mask, a way to buy himself legitimacy and get access to rooms he no longer belonged in. All right, so let's pull all of this together. How do we process this and not fall for this kind of rumor again? It really helps to understand the specific logical error that's at play here. This is a textbook example of something called the genetic fallacy. It's when we judge something as good or bad just based on where it came from or who is associated with it. Think about it. Truly terrible people use the internet every day. They drive cars, they use money.
But that doesn't make the internet or cars or money inherently evil, right? The technology is separate from the user.
So if you remember nothing else, remember these three things. 1. The timeline. Epstein was a full 6 years too late to have anything to do with creating Bitcoin. 2. Control. Bitcoin's code is open source. It can't be secretly bought or manipulated. And 3. Motive. This was never about controlling the world's money. It was about laundering his own disgusting reputation.
When you look at all the facts, the case is pretty clear. Bitcoin stands on its own, completely separate from the people who use it or fund research about it, or even try to latch onto its credibility. It doesn't belong to any single investor, and it certainly doesn't belong to a criminal like Epstein. It belongs to the math. And that, well, that leaves us with a much bigger, more interesting question for the future. If the code truly doesn't care who you are, what does that mean for the future of truly neutral technologies?